There are Jameses in international schools across the world. And indeed, the challenge that James is facing in this data is a challenge that is faced by kids in schools across the globe. James has an enormous verbal deficit. His verbal score at 81 is 60 points lower than his non-verbal score. This means there is a massive disparity. There is an enormous gap between James's cognitive ability, his conceptual ability, and that verbal aptitude which here is going to be dragging him down. His brain, if you like, is racing ahead conceptually on a high level and at a high pace, but language is tripping him up and slowing him down and pulling him back. And you see the impact here on James's attainment. James's attainment is okay. James's attainment in English and in maths and in science here is just above average. And so that's okay. And the danger without the rest of this data is that teachers could see that as okay. You know, James is okay. James is doing okay. And therefore, why do we need to intervene or change anything? But when you look at the data, and when you look at that cognitive data, and you realize that with 141 for non-verbal and for spatial, James could be doing extraordinary things, then those attainment levels suddenly seem very low, and the underachievement that they represent very significant. Now, at the age of 11, it's not too late to do something about that. With smart EAL interventions, that verbal score can be schooled. That verbal score can come up. But at the moment, because it's still low, it's still lingering way down there, look at the effect on the pass. Really healthy, robust scores in domain 3, where James is showing that he respects the school and loves the school and thinks it's important to go to school and his teachers are great. But then look at domain 1, where he's reflecting on himself. His domain 1 score overall is 30, and that's brought down in particular by pass 2, his perceived learning capability. Basically, and put simply, James doesn't think he's very clever. James doesn't think that he's got very much to offer academically to his schooling at all. And the problem is, without the rest of this data, the teachers probably are going to end up agreeing. And so are the parents, because he's happy and he's throwing himself to school and he's turning up each day and giving it his best shot. But he doesn't believe he has much to offer. Now look at what that then does to pass 6 and pass 7. They're not low, but they're significantly lower than many of the other pass scores. Look what it does to pass 9. James likes coming to school, but he sees the curriculum as remote and not really fitting his needs. And no wonder, because he's got a verbal deficit of minus 60. And the real worry for me here is the pass 3. My fear with students like James is that if we don't do something about that language and that verbal deficit, then their well-being, their emotional and mental health will start to suffer. And for me, with this profile, that pass 3 of 39 is a bit of a canary in the coal mine there, that if we don't sort this out, that pass 3 will start to dip even further, and then the problem becomes much broader and bigger than it is at the moment.